Between the 13th and 17th centuries, China was conquered, ruled, and eventually reclaimed by its own people. This epic saga, stretching from the vast steppes of Mongolia to the magnificent halls of the Forbidden City, tells a story of foreign domination, cultural fusion, and the powerful resurgence of a nation. It's a tale of two dynasties, the Yuan and the Ming, that forever changed the course of Chinese history. How did a nomadic empire come to rule one of the world's most ancient civilizations? And how did that civilization rise again? Stronger and more determined than ever. It all began with one of history's most formidable figures, Genghis Khan. In the early 13th century, he united the Mongol tribes and unleashed a military force the world had never seen. His conquests were swift and brutal, creating the largest contiguous land empire in history. While Genghis Khan himself never fully conquered China, he set the stage for his grandson, Kublai Khan. Kublai was different. He was not just a conqueror. He was an empire builder. He saw China not merely as a territory to be plundered, but as the jewel of his empire. In 1271, he officially proclaimed the Yuan dynasty, adopting a Chinese-style dynastic name. By 1279, after years of relentless campaigns, he had extinguished the last remnants of the native Song dynasty, becoming the first non-Han emperor to rule all of China. But rule in China was a far greater challenge than conquering it. The Mongols were a tiny minority in a vast and culturally sophisticated land. To maintain control, Kublai Khan's government established a rigid social hierarchy. At the top were the Mongols themselves. Below them were other non-Chinese peoples from Central Asia and Europe, often employed as administrators. Thence came the northern Chinese, and at the very bottom were the southern Chinese of the former Song dynasty, who faced the most discrimination. This system was designed to prevent Han Chinese from regaining power. The highest government posts were reserved for Mongols and their allies. And the traditional civil service examination system, a cornerstone of Chinese bureaucracy for centuries, was suspended for a time. Yet, the Mongols also recognized they couldn't rule without Chinese help. They retained many aspects of Chinese governance, using local officials to manage their provinces. The capital was moved to Tadu, what we now know as Beijing, a strategic choice that anchored the Mongol court firmly on Chinese soil. Despite the political tensions, this period ushered in an era of unprecedented stability and exchange known as the Pax Mongol or Mongol Peace. For the first time, a single power controlled the entire length of the Silk Road from China to the Black Sea. Trade flourished. Merchants, missionaries, and travelers could journey across Asia with a level of safety never before possible. And this is where another famous name enters our story. Marco Polo, the Venetian merchant, along with his father and uncle, allegedly traveled to Kublai Khan's court and served the emperor for years. His detailed account, The Travels of Marco Polo, gave Europeans their first real glimpse into the incredible wealth, technology, and culture of China, describing everything from paper money and coal to the magnificent imperial palace. Whether every detail of his story is true remains a topic of debate, but his book fired the imagination of Europe and highlighted the incredible interconnectedness of the Yuan era. However, the Mongol grip on China was not destined to last. By the mid-14th century, the Yuan dynasty was in crisis. A series of weak and faction-ridden emperors followed Kublai Khan. The administration was plagued by corruption. More devastatingly, a series of natural disasters, floods, droughts, and famines struck the land, leading to widespread suffering. The government's response was slow and ineffective. Making matters worse, epidemics, including the Black Death, ravaged the population. In the eyes of many Chinese, these calamities were a sign that the Yuan had lost the mandate of heaven the divine right to rule, resentment, which had simmered for decades under discriminatory policies, finally boiled over. Across the country, rebellions erupted. The most significant of these was the Red Turban Rebellion, a movement blending religious and nationalist sentiments. From the chaos of the Red Turban Rebellion, a remarkable leader emerged. Zhu Yongzheng was born a poor peasant. Orphaned during a famine and having spent time as a Buddhist monk, he joined the rebels and quickly proved to be a brilliant military strategist and charismatic leader. He consolidated power, driving out rival warlords and systematically pushing the Mongol forces north. In 1368, Zhu Yuanzhang's army captured the Yuan capital of Zadu. The last Yuan emperor fled back to the Mongolian steppe, and the dynasty collapsed in China less than a century after its founding. Zhu Huanzhang declared a new dynasty, the Ming, meaning brilliant. He established his capital in Nanjing and became the Hongwu emperor. His rise from peasant to emperor is one of the most incredible stories in Chinese history. The early Ming dynasty was defined by a powerful drive to restore Han Chinese traditions and erase the memory of foreign rule. The Hongwu emperor re-established the civil service exams based on Confucian classics, bringing scholars back to the heart of government. He implemented land reforms to help the peasantry and created a legal code to bring order back to the empire. His goal was to build a stable, agrarian, and self-sufficient society, but also one that could never again fall to outside invaders. To this end, the Ming emperors undertook one of the most ambitious construction projects in human history, the Great Wall. While earlier versions of the wall existed, the massive brick and stone fortifications we recognize today are largely a product of the Ming dynasty. It was a colossal military defense system, complete with forts, barracks, and signal towers designed to keep the Mongols and other northern nomadic peoples at bay. But Ming ambition was not limited to defense. Under the Hongwu emperor's son, the Yongle emperor, China looked outward to the seas. He sponsored a series of incredible maritime expeditions led by the admiral Zheng Yi. Between 1405 and 1433, Zheng He commanded enormous treasure fleets. Some of the largest ships in the world at the time on 7 voyages across the Indian Ocean. These fleets sailed to Southeast Asia, India, the Persian Gulf, and even the coast of Africa. Their purpose wasn't conquest, but diplomacy and trade, projecting Chinese power and prestige across the seas. Zheng He brought back exotic goods and foreign emissaries to the imperial court, demonstrating China's unparalleled naval might. These voyages were a testament to the technological prowess and global reach of the early Ming Empire. Yet this era of maritime exploration came to an abrupt end. After the death of the Yongle Emperor and Zheng He, a new faction of conservative Confucian officials came to power. They viewed the voyages as extravagant and unnecessary. They believed China was a self-sufficient kingdom, and that the real threat came from the northern frontier, not the sea. The great fleets were dismantled, and China gradually turned inward, adopting a policy of isolation. This fateful decision to abandon the seas would have profound consequences, leaving the oceans open for the European powers who would arrive a few decades later. The later Ming dynasty faced many of the same challenges as the Yuan it had replaced weak emperors: court corruption, economic hardship, and external threats. It too would eventually fall, paving the way for China's last imperial dynasty, the Qing. From foreign domination to national restoration, this period shaped the China that would enter the modern age. The Yuan dynasty, though short-lived, integrated China into a wider world, while the Ming dynasty reasserted a powerful Han identity, leaving behind cultural and architectural wonders that still inspire awe today. It's a powerful cycle of conquest, resilience, and transformation that continues to define China's story. Thanks for watching, And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into history.